5 random devs create a game based off the theme Absorption, but there's a twist. Each new developer joins the growing team and can collaborate with everyone who came before, but previous devs get permanently locked out of the project. Did this collaboration absorb success like a sponge, or was it more like a paper towel, falling apart when things got messy? Let's jump right into it with dev number 1.
Hello, I am Nico. I'm one of the developers behind Super Adventure, and together with Kerris, my friend, we were the first team to kick off this challenge. The theme we got was Absorption. So after a bit of brainstorming, we decided to go for a mechanic where the player could absorb enemies and maybe even gain abilities from them in a Metroidvania-like fashion. So after settling on that, we tried to come up with a good setting that would fit that mechanic. So we came up with a haunted mansion setting with ghosts as enemy types, and the player would have to shine light on them to absorb them.
Hey yo, Kerris here. I'm the pixel artist and I like limitations that help me to get shit done, so I settled for some. Like only using the Aspert NAS color palette and also only using 3 colors per sprite. After I set these rules for myself, I started to pixel the player character. I started by making some shapes and I see where it will take me. I lack any sense of color theory, so I just try out colors till I find some that I like. And whoa, look at him, isn't he cool? And yeah, after that I pixeled some general tiles and props to get the mood of the game down.
After setting up the basic player controller, I tackled our lighting system. We wanted to have a flashlight that could reveal certain stuff otherwise hidden in the dark. The way we did it is we just have 2 different tile maps that overlap each other. One is the dark version, one is the lit up version, and wherever the flashlight shines at, it would reveal the lit up version of the tile map. It's not a perfect system, especially when there are thin walls, you can see the light just goes through. But I figured for the scope of this game, it was good enough.
After the light system is done, I created some more tiles in 2 different versions, light on and light off. I also added some life in the game by giving the player and the very spooky ghost some animations.
So then I just implemented all the things Kerris pixeled, like the enemy and logic to damage and absorb them. As I mentioned earlier, we had the idea that absorbing enemies could grant the player new abilities, but in the end we decided to keep it simple for now and let the next devs decide how they would want to build upon this mechanic. So the last few things I did was to add a battery life system for the flashlight, make it so that the player could take damage and lose his flashlight, entering a panic state, and adding a few particles when the player hits the ground or hits the ceiling to make it feel a bit more polished. And with that we gave the game to the next devs, excited to see what the game would form into.
Follow Amber's tale on its Kickstarter page. It's a truly non-linear Metroidvania that allows you to explore the world in the order of your choosing by letting you pick the order you unlock abilities. There's also a super cool fishing minigame, so maybe that sells it to you.
Hi, I'm Nathan Hoad, and I'm making a story-driven puzzle action game called Brave as Coconut that you can wishlist on Steam. It's kind of a new take on point-and-click adventure games where the actual pointing and clicking is replaced with top-down adventure game movement. Think Monkey Island meets A Link to the Past. So there's a lot of puzzles that are interwoven into the story and a bit of action in between. You can follow the game's progress on my YouTube channel, @Nathan_Hoad. Now, let's have a look where this challenge game is at. Okay, we're straight into a room here. One thing I might add is some kind of title screen. I love the little details of the dust when you land a jump or when you hit your head on the roof. I also really like this art style in general, a very limited palette but doing a lot with it. The gameplay has a very arcade game feel to it, so I think I'll lean into that. Okay, so when you die, you just kind of fall off the bottom of the screen. I'll add that to the list of stuff I can do. Actually, I think the overall vibe of stuff I'll do for my part in this challenge is to bookend the experience. Add a title screen and a game over loop. I've also just recently started getting into music production with FL Studio, so I might take a shot at adding some music and sound effects as well. And one other thing I want to tinker with is this bulb thing. At the moment when you absorb a ghost, nothing really happens. I think maybe you might start with 1 bulb worth of energy and then absorbing a ghost gives you another one. Okay, so first things first, handling game over. After a bit of messing about and getting familiar with the code base, I now have this. It still feels off, so I might keep tinkering with that as I go, but that's good enough for now. Next up is a title screen to set the mood of the game. I wanted to keep the arcade or retro console vibe going, so my idea for the title screen was just a basic title and a prompt with a black screen, some simple animation. I'll come back to that in a second because it was here that I got a bit sidetracked making the bulb counter thing work so that it goes up when you absorb a ghost. That now works like this. You start with one, then absorb a ghost and get another bulb. There's still only this one room in the game, but I'm only the second developer in the challenge, so I'll leave adding more rooms for the next two. Okay, with that done, I fired up FL Studio and made a few tracks. One for the title, one for the baseline state, and one for the panic state. I also created a few sound effects for jumping, landing, hitting your head, and using the torch, and dying. So the end result looks something like this. I think the game is definitely starting to take shape and I'm excited to see where it goes. It's time now to pass it on, so that's all from me. Go wishlist Bravest Coconut on Steam.
Hey everyone, I'm Eric, online known as Capercube. I'm working on a Metroidvania right now with two very talented individuals, Josh and Alon. And if you like cozy but haunting vibes, then you might like our game Layers Deep, which you can find and wishlist on Steam right now, if you want. Go check it out. By the time I got the game, it was already pretty good, and probably could have been its own mini game. So I decided the first day I would mainly spend looking through the code that was there and just getting a lay of the land. Fixed a couple of bugs here and there. But I decided to make my own low-res bitmap font to kind of fit the vibes of the game. I then also decided to add a score counter. I also found that it was a little bit too easy to cheese the flashlight battery drainage by just tapping the flashlight on and off. That way you could get hits on the enemies without actually draining your battery much. So I went ahead and implemented a feature that would drain more battery at the start of turning on your flashlight. When I got the game, there was only one level and there was only one enemy in that level. So I decided I was going to put in a enemy spawner so that you could get more than just one ghost to fight. I also noticed there were some missing sounds for the ghosts getting hit and dying, so I added those as well. By the end of the first day, I figured I could squeeze in one more feature, so I started working on kickable objects, because I thought that would be just fun. Doesn't add anything to the game, I just thought it would be cool. At that point, I was already feeling a little bit bare, only having one level, so I added a second one as well. Opened up my concepting tool of choice, MS Paint, and just started drawing an idea for a boss level, which I kind of aimed to get to. I figured it'd be kind of interesting to add a meter that you would have to fill to be able to complete the level, thus adding some kind of win condition. I thought it would be fun to add a shop in between each level so that you can level up your flashlight and maybe your health or something like that. I figured a good way to balance out the item progression was then also to make the levels harder and then eventually have a boss level. The next day I took a little bit of a break and decided to work on some music for the game because I thought that'd be kind of fun. I figured since the game's already kind of inspired by Luigi's Mansion, I'd make the shop music kind of funky in a similar sort of way. So I added an item system. Basically, it was just an item that when they collide with it, it hovers, does a little hover animation. And then if you press up, you buy the item, and it does something. And then I made two instances of that item. One of them gives you an extra battery, and one of them gives you a stronger flashlight beam attack. But yeah, then I just packaged it up, and I gave it to the next dev. Overall, I thought it was a really fun experience. Making jams is fun. I like making jams. Jams are cool.
I'm Zeth, or MZ_Eth on YouTube. I do lots of pixel art stuff, draw little guys, make little pixel art games. So imagine my feeling when I open this project and see, look at that, it's all pixel art. It's gonna be easy, right? It's guys, oh, no, it really wasn't too bad. So let's get into it. I got the project last, which I've never done before. Feels very weird. This is already done. Game's done. You got a good game, guys. GG's. No, of course I have to do something, and someone recommended that the game could use a boss fight, and I like that. It's pretty easy to wrap my head around. That's not like a system or taking the game in some weird direction. I just have to add a spooky little guy. And you're probably thinking, oh, MZF, you probably opened up Photoshop and started drawing ghosts and spooky goblins. Spooky, what the fuck am I saying? Well, you would be quite wrong, because most of my time in the beginning is figuring out why I'm breaking everything. But there isn't like a big breakthrough or some kind of epiphany. It's more just learning what everyone's done and trying not to step all over it. Also, many times I have left the game on and it will just keep spawning ghosts over and over. Step 1 was add a pause menu. It's not like a menu. It's just I added pause to the game. Also, a little debug button that automatically clears the room for you. It's probably still in the game. I had to remove it. Don't hit that if you're gonna play the game. I don't remember what button it is. Just don't hit all the buttons because one of them does it. I've now decided that coding is for nerds. So let's get into the art section. And you know what? Here's what I love about inheriting someone else's art style. Their color palette is completely locked in, which I appreciate. The first thing we do is snipe out these characters. We got the color palette from the ghost and then also the size from the main character. One piece of advice that I actually have for anyone doing pixel art is make sure you put everything in the same scene. There have been so many times in my game dev journey where I thought I made this amazing asset only to figure out it doesn't fit in my game at all, whether it's too big or whatever. Also, around this time, I start looking at references online, just Googling pixel art, spooky ghosts, the basic stuff. And I just jump in and start blobbing out this weird looking character. There's a couple tricks I knew I wanted to use from the outset to make the whole process a lot easier for me. One of them is to make the boss fly. And this is great because now we get to skip the whole walk cycle. Instead, I just kind of draw these wavy little floating effects. And it's good to find stuff like that to skip because there's so many things you kind of forget you need to animate that they really add up fast. Another thing I knew I wanted to do was give him these two fists on either side of him. And the plan was you could attack the fists and make them sort of disappear, but if you left them alone, they would do the smashing attack that hit the ground. And the smashing attack spawns these pillars, simple attack that makes the player have to jump over them. From here, I take all those assets, put them in the game, and sort of assess where we're at. Most enemies I code, I default to doing a state machine, but I figured for this one guy, I think I can get away with just using timers. It does become painfully obvious to me though that we need a second phase or attack, specifically one where the boss can't be hurt. This is a trick you'll see in most boss fights. We have a moment where you can't actually hurt the boss and you're sort of just surviving a wave of attacks. The easiest way I thought about doing this was animating the boss disappearing, then adding in these little ghost spawners that if you don't kill in time, make a ghost. It's one of the easiest ways to add a little longevity and tension to a fight, so as long as you don't overdo it, it's something I definitely recommend. From here, I wanted to add one final attack where the boss would do this really simple left to right movement, an attack really similar to this fight in Cuphead. And I even started the process of coding it into the game, only to stop realizing I don't have enough time to actually finish this boss fight, and more importantly, integrate him into the actual game. So I pivot to drawing a couple different animations that I knew were going to be necessary to make it feel fun. One was this damage animation when you hurt the boss. Definitely tried to exaggerate it a lot, make his eyes shoot out. The next one was really important, you kind of forget about, you need a death animation. So I try to have fun with that too and make his eyes sort of shoot out and fall to the ground. Okay, we're coming up on the last couple hours of development and now we just need to get it all in the game. For testing purposes, I just kept putting him in the first room thinking that'll be fine, only to realize that once I finally put him at like room 4 or 5, the game breaks as soon as you get hit, and I do not know why. And to make it worse, I'm exhausted and sleep deprived trying to read through the error messages that it's giving me. For whatever reason, it's just not clicking in my head at all and I am incredibly stressed. It's amazing how these arbitrary things that we create for these projects can make us seem so stressed, and when I finally confront reality and tell Lazy what's going on, he very calmly and rightfully just said, send it over and we'll see if we can fix it. And with that, it ends my portion of this game dev challenge. Lots of weird ups and downs, but overall, I really enjoyed doing boss fights, boss design, and drawing little goofy guys. We'll have to do it again soon.
Absorbing ghosts was a very early idea we had.
And the art style was just, I like limitations, and the NES limitations are pretty good for a little game jam, I think.
I personally am a believer in that restrictive creativity. I think a lot more really cool stuff comes out of that.
What I do was take files from what you guys already had in there and just cut out all the colors and we're like, this is what we have to work with. Because every time I do pixel art, I'm always doing these dumb like gradients and multicolors and I break all the rules of traditional like NES style pixel art. There's like fading in and out of the boss and I was using like opacity and I'm like, technically I shouldn't use this, but breaking it was kind of fun. So I was like, okay, get all this here.
It ended up being kind of cool actually. I'd be interested to see it like built into an actual thing. I feel like it just needs a bunch more levels and maybe a couple little sort of puzzly platformy things, and then it is kind of a whole game then.
I think because I'm an artist, I would just add more enemies. And
yeah,
Nico,
that's what I was thinking too.
Nico needs to implement them.
Right now it's very linear. I kind of like it because I like linear games, but maybe go a bit more creative with the like level structure or arena or something like that. We didn't want to design what exactly happens when you absorb enemies ourselves. Like we wanted to let other devs decide.
There was an energy system, but it didn't really do anything, and like the consuming ghost didn't do anything either. I just wanted to get that basic loop kind of working. tracking of like you start, you can die, you can restart and go again?
I don't even know what it was exactly in the end that broke it, but I broke some form of the game where it wouldn't launch anymore, and I was like hardcore crashing out, and I was like, I just have to go to bed. And so I closed everything and just went to sleep, and then I woke up at like 6 a.m. and I messaged Lazy, and I was like, listen, buddy, everything is bad. This is going horrible. Yeah, and then of course he was like, why don't you just send it to the group and see what they say? And I sent it to everyone, and they're like, oh, it's just one little thing, and I got it, you're fine. Overreacted over nothing.
But I kind of wish I would have reached out more to the rest of the other developers just to talk about it, because I think there's a synergy that could have been had that I missed out on from not doing that.
But the whole process was actually really fun to do, and it makes me wish that I worked more with people, because like working on your game alone, like you have to do all those little things, but having just to do one task, you realize how much there is to do in that one task. There's so many things, but at the same time, like you don't have to worry about all the other stuff, and so I can put my heart into like making this goofy boss. It was a fun time.